Hi, friends. Welcome to phase one, part one of what was school like long ago. And yesterday we were able to watch that short video that really explained what were kids' responsibilities 100, years ago. What did they do at school? What did they do at home? And as you figured out, it is very, very different from what happens today. So we're going to start off with this picture. It is an object from long ago. Let me make it bigger. Look at this. What do you think that is? And I'm going to get my picture out of the way. I'm going to go over there today. This object is from long ago. What do you think? It almost looks like a person, doesn't it? With a little head and a necklace and a body and little legs. That's really funny. No, it's not a mannequin. Although, if you guessed a mannequin, that would be a pretty good guess. Okay, what do you think it is? And how do you think it was used? Okay, we don't have presenters for the idea, but I just want you to think that in mind of what you think it is. Okay. So this is a coal burning stove. It didn't burn wood. It didn't have gas, didn't have propane. It was a coal burning stove and it was very, very dirty. In fact, friends, my stepdad um used to have a coal burning stove back in, oh my gosh, I want to say the 30s, 1930s. And he told me that he and his brothers used to uh, chase down the coal cars on the trains and pick up coal for their house because they didn't have a lot of money. So this picture actually is kind of very near and dear to my heart. But stoves like this not only heated homes, but it also heated classrooms. And teachers had to put coal in it to keep the stove going. And older boys carried the heavy coal from the outside. So I can imagine what a dirty mess that would be. So the question is, how is this different from today? Do we have a heater like this in the classroom? How do we heat our rooms? Do we have some of the fifth graders coming in to give us coal to heat the stove? How is it different? Think about that. Okay. So this object is also from long ago. What do you think this object is? I'm sure some of you know. It's actually kind of cool. How do you think it was used? All right. Let's see. So this is a student desk. Give me a thumb up if you thought it was. Yeah. Often two students shared one desk, and if the bench was long enough, they could sit next to each other. But the desk and chair couldn't be moved. They were screwed to the floor, so we couldn't move them out of the way. They were fastened to the floor, and you couldn't move them. So how are these student desks different from what we do today? Do these desks look alike? Do we have desks? Can we work wherever we want, or do we have to work in one place? Yeah, it's all different, right? Here is something else from long ago, and Mr. Knudson and I actually have one of these. Some of you might have one of these. What do you think it's used for? How do you think it was used? Let's think about that for a minute. Okay, it's kind of sooty, kind of dirty up here. So this is a lantern, and lanterns burned oil or kerosene, and the classrooms used lanterns to light them up. There were not lights like we have today. So how is a lantern different from what we use today? And how well do you think one lantern could light an entire classroom? Do you think one lantern could be used? Do you think they had a lot of lanterns? How do you think that worked? Hmm. So if you can imagine, you can see the black soot on the glass here. I wonder how clean that is. So let's look at some fun facts. So here's that classroom picture again. So, one of the facts, remember, a fact is something you can prove to be true. An opinion is something that you think, but somebody might not agree with you. For instance, a fact is this picture is from a classroom 150 years ago. That's a fact. An opinion would be this is the coolest classroom ever. That's an opinion because not everybody might agree with me. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So, a fact is, schools long ago had only a few students at each grade level. Okay. All the students in the school were in one room. So, friends, there are still some classes like that today. For instance, just a few years ago, I taught kindergarten and first grade and second grade in one classroom. I had 27 kids and they were a mixture of kindergarten, first and second. And then in the other schoolhouse, in the other schoolroom, it was third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade. So there, it was a two room schoolhouse. But how is that different from today? Think about if we have different aged kids in our classroom from different grades. How is that different? Okay. Another fact, a one-room schoolhouse had only one teacher. So just like when I taught kindergarten, first and second grade, I was the only teacher. And just like this classroom in the picture, there was only one teacher for kids who may have been kindergarten through high school, just one teacher. So the teacher often took turns staying with families. If she wasn't married and if there wasn't a place to live, she would live with the families. That would be kind of interesting, wouldn't it? So, how is that different from today? How is that different from today? Okay, another fact, there was a bucket of water for drinking. Everyone drank from the same tin dipper. So, friends, if you've ever seen like a ladle that you ladle soup with or punch, they would dip the ladle into the water and take a sip. You may have seen that in movies, but everybody used the same dipper, and the dipper, it says, is a cup with a long handle. Can you imagine if we did that right now when we're not supposed to share any germs? Oh, it's a horrible thought. So, how is that different from today? Sharing a dipper with a bucket of water. What do we do now? So much is different. And the last fun fact is the bathroom was an outhouse behind the school. How many of you have ever used an outhouse before? Hmm. Some of us might still have an outhouse. My stepsister lived up in Alaska about 10 years ago, and they had an outhouse. They did not have indoor plumbing at the time. They lived very remotely and they just had an outhouse. So, how is that different from today? Do we have outhouses at school? Kind of glad we don't, but think about how that's different. Okay. So I am going to put myself up here, and this says, let's learn about schools long ago. We're going to read section number 1, schoolhouses were different, and section number 2, classrooms were different. So we are going to get in the student text and read together. Okay. And I'm going to hide my camera right now. Okay, schoolhouses were different. School was different for children long ago or in the past. Most schoolhouses had one room that was heated by a big stove. We saw that big stove. The teacher filled the stove with coal or wood. She also filled a bucket with water for drinking. How is this different from your school? Quite different. Hmm? And let's read the next section. Classrooms were different. Can you guys see this? Let me see what happens when I make it bigger. Yeah. So these desks, it looks like some kids are sitting with one person in a desk, and some of the desks are sitting with two kids. Look how many kids are in that classroom. What else do you notice? One thing I notice right off the bat is it's so dark. Yes, the picture is in black and white, but look how dark it is in the room, and we don't see any windows here. And let's zoom in here. This looks like a big chalkboard with a whole bunch of tiny writing on it. I wonder if that is the work of the kids. I wonder. Wow. In the past, one teacher taught all the grades 1 through 8. Her desk was near the blackboard. The younger children sat in front. The older children sat in back. The older students helped younger ones when the teacher was busy. How is this different from your classroom? How is this different from your classroom? Okay, well, we are going to go back to our previous screen. All right, and let's go to our next slide. Okay, so I want you to get your workbook right now, and I want you to find this page in your workbook. Okay. So yesterday, if you remember, we drew a picture about the past. And now we are going to be drawing things about school long ago. So, like I said, find this page in your workbook, and the directions say on the left, draw two objects you would find in a school long ago. On the right, draw two objects you would find in school now. So if you look at this full page here on the left-hand side, schools long ago, what are two objects that you would find in a school long ago? I want you to draw them neatly. And then on the right, I want you to draw two things that you would find in schools now. I want you to do that, and I would like you to hit pause until you are finished. So work on this now and hit pause when you are ready to come back. All right. So, what we will be focusing on next time is student life in the past. So, this time we talked about how were classrooms different. Next time, we are going to be talking about how student life was different in the past. So, make sure you do the activity in your workbook, get that finished, do your very best work. And until next time, I will see you and have a great afternoon, friends.